Hi, this is Adam Parks, your utility employee health consultant, and in today's video, I'm going to show you guys how to shop smarter to make healthier choices for you and your family. For example, we're going to be looking at 8 different food categories today, and what I'm going to do is teach you guys how to walk into a store, pick up a product, know what to look for on that product so that you can make the healthiest choice possible. Because here's the thing, if you're lacking energy and focus at work, if you're struggling every day to get up and get motivated, if you're stressed, depressed, or even if you have joint pain, a lot of that stuff can be coming from your food. And so I want to show you guys how to eliminate the things that may be making you feel worse and give yourself more of the things that are going to help you feel better. Today I'm here at Integrated Health Concepts in Bristol, Tennessee, using their amazing teaching kitchen to show you guys a little more real-world experience about some of the things I've been talking about. And so what I'm going to do is we're going to go through and compare each one of these products. I've got usually 2 products to compare. One is a choice that a lot of people make, maybe the most popular choice out there, and then one is one that I would make. Making the changes you're going to see in this video could mean eliminating an extra 43,000 calories from your diet a year, 45 pounds of sugar, and getting in more fiber and protein. First up, we've got Wonder Bread, America's most popular bread, versus Dave's Killer Bread, the Power Seed variety. This may be the most important comparison we do, so pay attention. It demonstrates why a lot of people get things wrong. At first glance, it actually looks like the Wonder Bread is healthier than Dave's Bread. It's got a lot more vitamins and minerals listed. It's got a little more protein. However, the first mistake we're making is we're not looking at the serving size for each one. Unfortunately, companies will change their serving sizes. It's not a universal method or measuring stick for each type of food. So with Wonder Bread, they're using 2 slices as a serving size, whereas Dave's Bread is using 1 slice as a serving size. So if we use that, or notice that, we can then tell that actually Dave's Bread has more protein than Wonder Bread. It has more fiber than Wonder Bread. It has more healthy fats than Wonder Bread. So it's got all of the things that help us feel better, and it's got more of them. It also has less of the things that make us feel worse, the things that increase inflammation. It's got less added sugar, and it has less calories overall still as well. Now, if you're wondering to yourself, well, what about the vitamins and minerals? I thought Wonder Bread had more than Dave's Bread. What about that? Well, at first glance, that is also correct. However, that's why we also need to look at the ingredient label of our products and not just the nutrition facts. So the first thing we should do when looking at the ingredients of any product is look and see if we recognize all the ingredients that are listed. If you don't, then don't put something in your body that you don't know what it is, period. Educate yourself on what's in there if you're unfamiliar with it, or just simply choose something else if you don't know what's in that product. And so for the sake of making my point, when I look at the ingredients with these 2 products, what I can tell is Wonder Bread has added in those vitamins and minerals via supplements, whereas Dave's Bread only has naturally occurring ones. And I'm not going to go into why that matters, but in my opinion, that basically means that Wonder Breads don't count because they're not the same as naturally occurring vitamins and minerals. And I would encourage you to look into why on your own. So next up, we're going to be comparing iceberg lettuce to romaine lettuce, and then both of those to spinach to see which one's the best. So I chose these guys because they're a prime example of what most Americans don't get enough of, greens, but they're also a prime example of what most Americans do wrong, and that's choose things with lesser nutritional value. And so if you look at the nutritional facts for each one of these, you can see that iceberg has less nutritional value than romaine, and both of those 2 have less nutritional value than spinach. And those things are important, these extra vitamins and minerals, because they're what help us feel better and help our bodies function better. If you look at potassium, vitamin K, those are important for blood health and bone health. Vitamin A, vitamin C, important for our immune systems. So if you want to feel better, you have to start to choose things that will make you feel better. So hopefully you guys have gotten the hang of things a little bit, because what I want to do with this demonstration is compare 4 products all at once: peanut butter, yogurt, granola, and the kids' juices, because all of these products have one thing in common. The brand that most people buy has a lot of added sugar, And we want to eliminate that from our diets, not only to eliminate unnecessary calories, but because sugar leads to inflammation, and inflammation is linked to every disease that we know. I want to talk really quickly about why eliminating added sugar in particular is so important and what it does to your body. Number one, it leads to chronic inflammation. That chronic inflammation is linked to heart disease, but on top of that, inflammation in the brain is linked to cognitive and memory function decline. And so if you're trying to focus on anything at work or do anything, it's going to be really hard to do the more added sugar you have in your diet. The more added sugar you have in your diet, also the more negative effect it's going to have on the microbiome in your gut. The healthy microbiome in your gut is important as far as like feeling good. And so the more added sugar you have, the worse you're going to feel, the more anxiety and depression you're going to have. You're also going to have probably more joint pain with the added inflammation. If you add those two things together, you're going to have a negative effect on your sleep. If you're talking about being stressed and being uncomfortable, it's going to be really hard to go to sleep. And that negative effect on your sleep is going to show up in other ways. A lack of good sleep leads you susceptible to Alzheimer's and dementia, certain types of cancer, and it also makes it harder to lose weight. On top of that, added sugars all have a higher glycemic index, so it has a negative effect on your blood sugar, which leads you even more susceptible to kidney disease or heart disease, and then of course diabetes. And so putting this into practice is actually really easy. All you have to do is flip over any product you're thinking about buying, and on the back in the nutrition facts, it'll say added sugars on there. And so you can look and see how much added sugar is in that product. And added sugar is literally that, sugar that has been added to that product. It is not naturally occurring in whatever foods are in that product. It is added to it. It is unnecessary. And so if we look here, we can see that Jif has 2 grams of added sugars per serving. The Chobani Greek yogurt strawberry flavor has 9 grams. The Capri Sun fruit punch has 5 grams of added sugar, probably because if you look here even further, it only contains 15% of juice. And actually, to give you all a little hint about something else, if you look at the ingredients on the Capri Sun, the first 2 ingredients are filtered water and sugar. And the ingredients on any product are listed in order of the most prevalent. And so the most prevalent thing in that Capri Sun is basically sugar water. And then looking over at the Nature Valley granola, there's another 7 grams of added sugar. And so altogether, that's 23 grams of added sugar. And that's per serving. And if we compare these to the brands that I would buy, all of these have 0 grams of added sugar in them. And so that's a huge win for our health overall because we're eliminating all those negative side effects that come with added sugar. We're eliminating all those extra calories that are going to come with that added sugar. Actually, it's the equivalent of over 46,000 calories that we're saving a year, which means we're eliminating the possibility of gaining an extra 13 pounds of fat. Also with these products, we're gaining some of the good stuff that we want as well. That's going to help our blood sugar or our immunity or our muscles or bones or whatever. We've got more fiber with the Cascade M Farm granola. We've got more vitamin C with the Honest brand fruit punch. We've got more protein in all of them except for the juice. And it's even more important to make these changes because these are products we're usually always giving to kids as well. And we have to do the best that we can by them and eliminate as much added sugar as possible from their diets because in their generation, they have even worse health statistics than we did growing up. Since 1975, the percentage of overweight or obese children has increased from 4% to 18% in 2016. And that has a lot to do with added sugar. Now, take a second to think about that last statistic. If only 4% of adults alive today were overweight or obese as kids, but now over 40% of them are obese as adults, what does that mean for our kids if 18% are already overweight or obese now? If we want to avoid being the first generation that has to bury the majority of our kids, then we need to do something about it. We have to start looking at what we're feeding them and eliminate as much added sugar as possible. On top of making better food choices for ourselves and for our kids, we also have to look at how we're starting our day, and that starts with breakfast. Number 1, do not skip it. Breakfast has an important role as far as your metabolism and your blood sugar is concerned. Eating a good breakfast is important to get your day off on the right track. In fact, communities around the world where people live to be the longest all have one thing in common. They all eat more at the beginning of the day and less later in the day. Whereas in America, we often do the opposite. We often skip breakfast or have very little at breakfast and lunch and then have our biggest meal at the end of the day. That has an adverse effect on our blood sugar, on our weight, and on our health. So for time's sake, let's say you have no time to eat breakfast and you just grab and go, which is garbage. You could always make a smoothie or some overnight oats or whatever, but I'll play this game. So most people will, if they do grab and go, grab a Jimmy Dean biscuit or something like that. I would say a better alternative would be to have some Amy's burritos on hand instead in case of an emergency. So here's why. Number one, we should be looking at added sugars. Amy's burrito has 0 grams of added sugars, once again, versus what most people get that has 2 grams of added sugar. As we've seen, that adds up over time. Amy's burrito has less calories than the Jimmy Dean biscuit, which is even more impressive because it's a bigger portion of food than the Jimmy Dean biscuit. It has more dietary fiber. It has 21% of your daily value versus 7% in the Jimmy Dean biscuit. And then lastly, go ahead and look at the ingredients between the two and tell me if you can tell what everything in that Jimmy Dean biscuit is. And if you can, great, you're probably a food scientist. For the rest of us, there's no way you know what all that stuff is. So once again, don't put it in your body if you don't know what it is. There's 57 ingredients in that Jimmy Dean biscuit versus 15 in Amy's burrito. Always choose something that's simpler. And what's even funnier is at the bottom you look and it says includes bioengineered ingredients. I have no idea what that means, so probably don't eat it. Congratulations, that means we've made it to the final comparison, crackers. We've got Mary's Gone crackers versus Ritz crackers. So to start with on this one, what I want you guys to do is to hit that pause button first and see if you can figure out what the differences are between these two products. Then I'll come back and see if you missed anything. So let's see how you guys did. Now first, before we do our rundown, I wanted to say that I picked these two because they exemplify something that a lot of people struggle with, and that's snacks. A lot of people will snack on crackers. But instead of choosing the Ritz crackers, I think Mary's Gone crackers are much better, and here's why. Number one, we got to equal up these serving sizes once again first. If you'll notice, the Ritz crackers, the serving size is different than the Mary Gone's crackers. It's actually about half the serving size, so we got to equal those out first. Now, if we do that, we'll notice once again the thing that I would choose versus the thing that most people would choose, there's a lot less added sugar. You've got 0 grams of added sugar with the Mary's Gone crackers versus really 2 if we're doing that math with the Ritz crackers per serving. You've got a lot more protein with the Mary's Gone crackers. You've got a lot more dietary fiber. In fact, there's 0 dietary fiber in the Ritz crackers. You've got more potassium, iron, calcium. So all of those things that help us feel better and in particular help our muscles recover or develop more from our workouts. And so those are all really important. If we go on to the ingredients, we can tell that the Mary's Gone crackers once again has better ingredients. And if we're looking over here at the Ritz Gone crackers, one of the things that I brought up in the beginning that makes us feel worse or that adds inflammation is added oils. And so we can see it has that, and it also has high fructose corn syrup as its added sugar. In fact, if you were to go back and look at some of the previous products, Jif peanut butter, Jimmy Dean biscuits, you would also see that those have added oils in them as well, making you feel worse. So once again, my goal with all this was to try to show y'all how little bitty changes can add up to big changes over time. For example, to recap, just by making those switches from the most popular brands to some of the brands that I would pick, you're saving yourself an extra 120 calories per serving, eliminating 57 grams of sugar, and gaining more fiber and protein. You're getting 13.5 more grams of fiber per serving and 8 grams more protein per serving. And if these are products you eat every day, which is why I chose them because most people do, then over the course of a year, you're eliminating over 43,000 calories from your diet. You're not eating an extra 45 pounds of sugar. Plus, you're getting in that extra fiber and protein every day, which is going to help your blood sugar and help you maintain a healthy weight. And here's the thing, you don't even have to eat these foods. With the tools that I've given you guys, I hope you all can walk into the store, pick up whatever product you're thinking about buying, and make sure it's the healthiest version for you and your family by checking those nutrition facts and ingredients and making these results even better. And so everything matters is what I would say. You know, whatever you're choosing, whether you want it to or not, is adding up to something. What do you want it to add up to? What do you want your equation to end up at? And then start making educated decisions that help you get there. Now, I will say as a disclaimer, making these choices has an upfront cost. When we made all these choices, we spent about $12.26 more in that one grocery visit. Now, over the course of the year, if you were to do this, let's say you bought these once a month, it'd be about $147. Okay, I understand that added cost. What I would say to you is there's also an added cost to being unhealthy in the form of medical bills, in the form of missing work, in the form of not getting promotions because people see you as unhealthy. And so on average, if you are overweight, you're costing yourself over $400 more a year. So 147, 150, let's call it, to feel better. Or we take those away, keep things as they are, and we spend $400 and some feeling worse. So don't look at it so much as what's the cost right now versus what would, losing 12 pounds be worth to you? What would feeling better be worth to you? What would not having to go to the doctor be worth to you? And then make decisions based on those things, not just the upfront cost. So in closing, a sincere thank you to you guys for watching this video. I really hope you enjoyed it and found it useful. If you did, please pass it along to others. The more people we help, the healthier our community is, and the healthier our community is, the easier it is for us to be healthy in it. Also, a big thank you to Utility for allowing me to do this and for realizing that investing in people's health is important. And one final thank you to Integrated Health Concepts for allowing me to use their amazing facilities. If you need a doctor, I highly recommend checking them out.